What if the most painful relationship in your life was not a mistake, but it was a requirement for you to become who you are today? Hey, and welcome to my channel. I'm Lamiski, and I talk about life and tell my stories to pull out the wisdom that I've learned from this crazy thing called life. And I want to talk about narcissists today. So let's get started. So, what if the most painful relationship of your life was not a punishment? It was not a mistake. What if it was actually a requirement to get where you are? I I have had quite a journey with meeting narcissists in my life. And it has rocked me to my core in some instances. And it has taught me so much about myself, about relationships, about who I want to be, who I don't want to be, who I want to share my time with, who I don't want to share my time with. If you can get past the immense heartbreak that they cause when you're a young soul and you look at everything with bright eyes and bushy tail, right? And you look with so much optimism for every relationship, and you're young and you're dating, you're in your 20s, maybe your teens even, who knows? Excuse me. But you're young and you're dating and you want to find the love of your life, right? And sure enough, you leave your parents' house and one of the first things you find is a damn narcissist. If you're not the narcissist, right? If you're not the narcissist, you are going to find one on your way there. You're going to find one very, very soon as you start dating and meeting people in the world, because you have a target on your back. So I like to talk about like the empath experience. So if you identify with being an empath, then this will probably hit a little bit more. So meeting the narcissist, meeting the person who you can see the good parts in, right? Because people are not black and white. Like, there are shades of gray. There are people that have really good aspects to themselves, right? And there are people, but they still have this controlling or manipulative or selfish part of them that creates the experience that you have with them. So, one of my first relationships, all of my first relationships seemed to be with a lot of takers. And that was because I'm a giver. I'm an empath, I'm a giver, and I met people who were there for what I could provide. And it varied from emotions to physicality to like acts of service, like going through the gamut of love languages, right? Whether I spoke nice to them and they like how I made them feel, or I'm a giver, I'm very generous. And it was maybe what they could get from me when I was around. But then when I needed people, they were never there. And it made me feel so lonely. Like, I felt like I was so surrounded by people, but was still so alone. And that's something I'm trying not to react. There's a bug flying around. I had the balcony door open. And I try not to react to that. I'm sorry, I'm trying not to react to the bug. But what I was saying was, I think it was a rigorous requirement for me, and maybe for you, maybe you identify with this, to have been with a person who you think is a narcissist or had extremely narcissistic traits, right? That is a part of our learning. That is a part of our growth. If we don't get caught up in the heartbreak, if we don't get caught up in how they made us feel, we acknowledge it, we honor it, but we learn their patterns. We learn that when they take, they don't replenish. We learn the process. We learn the tricks of the trade, really, because that's really all it is. They're very tricky personalities. And if you don't watch it, you'll keep getting involved with them because they have a very clever way of getting what they want from us, right? And I'm not saying it like we're all victims because we're empaths, because we're not. We're all on this journey with a different set of skills, and it's up to us to hone those skills to be able to get the most out of this journey, right? To get the most out of this experience. So when I think about my history with dating narcissists, I had to learn how to give with limits because I didn't feel like I needed to give with limits. Like I got so much. Like I'm so full of love. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm so full of love. Like I just want to give it. I just want to love you. But you have to recognize that you have to have boundaries. And I thought boundaries were always like early on, I thought boundaries were to protect, like defensively, like you can't come in here. I have a boundary up, right? But boundaries are also like, I can't keep giving to this because of how it's making me feel. It's not giving anything back. I'm not getting anything back. This person isn't even giving me back because maybe in the beginning they gave a little, right? They got you pulled in. But now I'm not getting anything back. I'm not getting nourished. I just feel so empty. And I got to a point in my experience where after I would hang out with certain people, I would literally need to sleep way longer to replenish myself after being with them. And you don't think about it. You just, oh, I'm just tired. It was a long week. I hung out, blah, blah, blah. No, pay attention to how much you have to recharge after you're around certain people. It tells you so much. And so when I started looking at the patterns and I started recognizing, like, okay, I have a tendency to attract this type of person because I'm this type of way. I had to make certain decisions. I had to implement boundaries. I had to recognize where I was going wrong. I had to limit my contact. I had to limit my my cup that I would give to this person, right? Because they're just wired a certain way. And if I didn't have those experiences, especially early on with dating and stuff like that, if I didn't have those experiences, and if I didn't take the time, because you can have the experience, but not take the time to process the experience. But if we're having the experience, for me, I'm going to process it and say, okay, what can I do differently? Whether it's not participate in the energy sucking aspect of what they're bringing to the table, right? Or have better boundaries, or maybe I should have gotten off the phone 2 hours ago instead of just now. Like I wouldn't feel so drained. Like if you're actually processing how you're recovering from the people that you interact with, that is the training. That is the gold that we get from being in these relationships. I'm on this app where people write these anonymous letters, and this one young lady wrote, excuse me, I hate that I stayed. I hate that I loved him. I hate that and she was so stuck in the pain of hating the experience that I wrote to her and I told her, I said, well, take some time to think about all the things that you learned from that experience and allow that to be your closure. Don't sit in the experience of hating this person and hating yourself for the decisions that you made because you were so open and giving and wanting to see the best in this person. Allow yourself to really sit and think about the things that you've learned. And I think that's the key that I want to tell all of you is allow yourself to make the mistakes, right? But don't hate yourself because of it. Don't spend time in that hatred of self because you experience something. Allow yourself to pull the wisdom from it and leave it where it is. I say take the meat, leave the bones, right? Take the meat of the situation and leave the bones, leave the painful parts, leave the hard parts. But understand that meeting people that are going to hurt us is not a punishment. It's a requirement for building the skills that we need to survive on this planet, among others, so that we can learn the patterns and the tactics that people use to get to the best parts of us without actually deserving it. So anyway, that's all I got on that. I'll probably talk about narcissists more because like life, but that's all I was thinking about is what if you can reframe that experience as a requirement and not so much a punishment or something to dislike yourself for. All right, that's all I got. If you enjoy this and you want to see some more, please subscribe, give me a like, and drop a comment and let me know if you have loved someone too hard and felt like a great dislike for yourself afterward. I've been there, but it's something that you can move through. Take the meat, leave the bones. All right? I'll talk to you soon. I love you. Bye.